Penguin Random House Audio presents The Lady from Zagreb, a Bernie Gunther novel, by Philip Kerr, read for you by John Lee. And if you ask again whether there is any justice in the world, you'll have to be satisfied with the reply, not for the time being, at any rate, not up to this Friday. Alfred Dublin. I had come to Yugoslavia to see what history meant in flesh and blood. Rebecca West. It was written I should be loyal to the nightmare of my choice. Joseph Conrad. Prologue. French Riviera, 1956. Wolves are usually born with deep blue eyes. These lighten and then gradually fade to their adult color, which is most often yellow. Huskies, on the other hand, have blue eyes, and because of this, people think that there must be blue-eyed wolves too, but strictly speaking, there aren't any. If you ever meet a wolf with blue eyes, then it is very likely not a pure-blooded wolf, but a hybrid. Dahlia Dresner had the most strikingly blue eyes of any woman I ever saw, but I'll bet that there was a small part of her that was wolf. Dresner had been a star of German cinema back in the 30s and 40s, which was when I'd been involved with her, albeit briefly. She is almost 40 now, but even in unforgiving Technicolor she is still astonishingly beautiful, especially those slow-blinking, ray-gun blue eyes that look as if they might have destroyed a few buildings with a careless glance or a particularly wide-eyed stare. They certainly managed to burn a hole through my heart. Like the pain of parting, you never really forget the face of a woman you've loved, especially when it's the face of a woman the press had called the German Garbo. Not to mention the way they make love. Somehow that tends to remain in the memory also. Perhaps this is just as well when the memory of making love is pretty much all you've got. "Don't stop," she would whimper on the few occasions when I was trying to please her in bed, as if I had any intention of stopping, ever. I'd happily have continued making love to Dahlia until the end of time. I was seeing her again in the Eden Cinema in La Ciotat, near Marseille, reputed to be the world's oldest and possibly smallest movie theatre. It's where the Lumiere brothers showed their first film, in 1895, and sits right on the seaside, facing a marina where lots of expensive boats and yachts are moored all year, and just around the corner from the crummy apartment I'd been living in since leaving Berlin. La Ciotat is an old fishing village, enlivened by an important French naval shipbuilding yard, if you can use words like important in the same sentence as the French Navy. There's a nice beach and several hotels, in one of which I work. I lit a cigarette, and as I watched the film I tried to recall all of the circumstances that had led up to our first meeting. When was it exactly? 1942? 1943? Actually, I never thought Dahlia looked much like Garbo. For me, the actress she most resembled was Lauren Bacall. Germany's Garbo was Joseph Goebbels' idea. He told me that the solitary Swede was one of Hitler's preferred actresses, and Camille one of the Führer's favourite films. It's a little hard to think of Hitler having a favourite film, especially one that's as romantic as Camille. But Goebbels said that whenever the Führer saw this film, there were tears in his eyes and he was glowing for hours afterward. For Goebbels, I don't doubt that relaunching Dahlia as German cinema's answer to Greta Garbo had been another way of currying favour with Hitler, and of course with Dahlia herself. Goebbels was always trying to make up to some actress or other. Not that I could blame him for trying to make up to Dahlia Dresner. Lots of men did. She'd spent much of her life living in Switzerland, but she was born in Pula, Istria, which, after 1918 and the dissolution of Austria-Hungary, was ceded to Italy. But this peninsula was always a natural part of Yugoslavia. Indeed, all of Dahlia's ancestors had been Croatian, and in order to escape forced Italianization and the cultural suppression of Mussolini's fascists, she was taken to live in Zagreb from a very early age. Her real name was Sofia Brankovic. After the war was over, she decided to leave her home near Zurich and go back to Zagreb to find what remained, if anything, of her family. In 1947, she'd been arrested by the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?